Sophia or anyone else in the room, obviously feel free to
Yeah.
to ask questions or interrupt me at any point in time. I'd rather
Okay,
I'd
my
rather have
first
people talk.
question is, what do you think about the first move?
The first move. Okay, interesting. I mean, you're having fun. No worries. I won't opine too much on it, but there's a reason why we do corner, side, center, right? Second move as well. Again, you're having a good time here.
It's like a type of a black hole.
Yeah, it's similar. There's a professional game where one professional starts off playing 8/8s, I think a couple times across the board. Is that what you were trying to mimic, or is that variation of it?
I always play a 13. That depends on what the other plays.
Gotcha.
Usually my second move is 8, 15, but I couldn't tell because white played on the top.
Gotcha. I love it. I mean, I will say white's not handling it very well. You've managed to link up your stones really well here and kind of put some pressure on this white group. So in this particular instance, if I were white, I wouldn't actually approach your corner. I would just build up white's have white build up its corner right now, because when we're looking at the territory, white's ahead, right? And so when you start approaching and allowing black to get strength, that's when you're going to lose. So if you're ahead in the game, there's no reason to start a fight. And I feel like that's kind of what white did here. Although, if you were going to start a fight, I'd probably be more inclined to just back, maybe here, just back off, right? Just say, okay, I'm going to try to reduce how much you get here and back off. And the nice part about this is later on, you can potentially play something like this as white, right? And break through. And if white pushes, then you allow this push to happen to attack this stone. You could consider doing that now as well, but I think that the territory that black gets here is more than the outward influence that white gets here now. But if white already had a stone over here, black plays elsewhere, white pushes through. Now, now that the territory that white's going to get here is not, that black's going to get here, is not quite as much. So you can kind of set up for it. But I think that, pushing through and kind of reducing your own liberty count as white here is really a mistake. And so, it's hard to say that this is any better, that the result that happened is any better. And I would argue that's definitely not better than just playing here, because you've now lost the agi of playing over here. All right, so the end result ended up being significantly worse than just playing away to begin with. And that's an example of, these are really good examples of just exchanges that don't help. You make them because they feel like sente, but they're not actually helping you. So black's going to keep up the attack, which I think is fine. I think the way that black is playing is a very active game. I see no reason why you couldn't expand your territory over here too. I honestly, after this variation here, I think black's already ahead because of how profitable this variation was. So even though I said right before this white was ahead, now that black's ahead, black can play a little bit less aggressively too. This is really questionable, this jump, because the first thing that's going to come into my mind is, okay, let me break through, let me try to cut it. And obviously, if you play like this is not going to end up particularly well for white. And so, and even if black just plays a very passive way here, this also is not going to end up great for white. So no matter how you slice it, I think this jump here is questionable. What white really should be doing is probably playing here. Obviously, I guess the fear is that if you play here, can black do something? Right, and I think the answer is no, because if black plays here, there's no way for black to capture these two stones. If black plays here, white's going to capture these. So there's no fear of this cut, right? And the other part about that is, even if there was some fear of the cut, this move for white at M18 is sente, right? Because now black has to come back, and so there's definitely no fear of the cut right now. So I think white got overly fearful of this cut here and ended up creating some serious weaknesses for itself. And now, in the way that you're playing, black ends up getting the entire lower side, and white has no base for itself. So this is a great result for white. Sorry, excuse me, a great result for black. Territory here, no points for white right now, just some outward influence. But a lot of that outward influence is already nullified by these two stones over here. So I would say black's doing great.
I don't think
Yep.
black needed M18, right? Could have black just Tanuki.
Black probably could have Tanuki'd. The only thing I'll say with that is this becomes annoying.
Yeah, but there's a ladder blocker already, so.
A ladder blocker. There's no ladder here.
No, after the cut on J17.
After the cut. So there's no ladder, right?
No, if
I think he's referring to the white's ladder of the black stone. So black takes the stones at 2, and then white can't ladder the stones. So I think he's arguing that it's not effective.
Oh,
as a
sure,
cut.
but you don't really need to. So I guess the statement is you're going to play here, excuse me, take, and then play here, right? Something like this.
yeah, and then black can come out or help that stone, or not even care, right? I guess too bad.
So black has to play here, right? That's the only black. No, black has no choice. I mean, maybe black could Atari here first or something like that, but black eventually will have to play here to live,
Yeah, obviously.
right? Even if this ladder doesn't work, which I don't actually think is the case here. No, sorry. So the ladder doesn't work, but even if the ladder doesn't work, black's not going to spend the time right now to play here because white's just going to get profit. So I guess my statement is, even though let's look at it a little bit differently. By playing here, what are we getting? Well, we're ensuring that we get all this territory and we don't have to deal with the cut, and we're preventing white from getting this side over here, right?
No, I see it. The thickness is too powerful.
If you would prefer to play something like this, you could do that as well. If you would rather play on the outside rather than the inside, that would be reasonable too.
Yeah, I didn't see how bad J17 cut actually is.
So let's keep going.
I have a quick question on the very beginning, if it's okay.
Sure.
When my opponents play, moves in the middle like this, I usually play 4/4s instead of 3/3s. And still sometimes have a difficult game, but I always thought it was important to, even if you're doing corner side center, to try to have some center presence. Do you think that decision matters very much compared to playing in the corners?
What, playing these moves at 0-13 or playing a move at 4/4 versus R3 if you're white?
Yeah, like white's playing the 3/3 points instead of 3/4s or 4/4s. Do you think that's a significant difference, or that you can handle them all relatively well?
I think that it's in the grand scheme of things, especially at the low Q, high Q, low Don level. There's so many mistakes in the game that it does not matter. But even at a more professional level, I can't imagine it really being too significant. I think it's more preference than anything else.
Makes sense. Okay.
But I will say, so the reason why we play moves on the 3rd and 4th line, and sorry to take a break from the game for a second, the reason that we play moves on the 3rd and 4th line is because that's going to be the best balance of territory to influence. So if you were to put all of the white stones on the 3rd line and all black stones on the 4th line, they're going to get the closest ratio of points than if you were to have all of white stones on the 4th line and all of black stones on the 5th line, with black getting the center and white getting the outside. That's, I don't remember the exact number, but it's only a difference of about 10 or so points. Whereas if you were to change it where white has stones on the 2nd line versus the 3rd line, or vice versa, the numbers grow. So that's why we see most of our play on the 3rd and 4th lines, because that's going to give you the best balance and the best opportunity to get territory for value without giving your opponent too much, right? And that's kind of why we used to think, the 2nd line is the line of defeat, because we're not going to get enough points to match our opponent's influence at that point, right? So kind of just more anecdotally why we're thinking third and fourth. As long as you're on the third and fourth lines, I don't think you can go that wrong. When you start playing, you know, seventh, eighth line, looking at Sophia here, then we get into territory of maybe a little bit of questionable moves. So going back a bit. I do think white needs to be a little bit mindful instead of playing at R8. You know, I do think this is going to come under some serious attack. You know, I don't, whether black plays it now or plays it later, you know, the kind of the thought that I have in my head of, you know, something like this is going to be really painful for white to deal with, right? Maybe white plays something like this. And yeah, white might be able to get out here, but it's not going to be a happy result for white, right? Like black's going to get territory here, influence on the outside. And, you know, even this white group here is still not alive, right? So I would be really leery of leaving this white group by itself. So if I were white in this position, I would probably jump out here. I also think that, you know, it's playing these moves on the outside, like over here, they seem like they're attacking a vital point, but I do think this black group is really strong. And this is kind of an aggressive move. What if rather than play at J15, black pincer here, right? What's white going to do? Jump? White will jump with it. And now these stones become even weaker. And so this is something, this kind of R11 move, it's questionable because black is strong here, right? Black is strong here. It's not quite clear what white will get out of this, even if black didn't ignore it, right? So again, black's playing here. I think I would have probably preferred to pincer here. Again, using black's strength here and pushing against this white stone. If white jumps, black jumps 2. White jumps again, black jumps 2. And again, you're switching targets. You're going to move from these 2 stones here to this 7 or 8 stones of white, and you're going to have an easy time getting territory. You know, this is the way that you want to attack. You don't attack by trying to kill everything. You attack by by attacking, you gain territory. And so, you know, even if white lives, now you still have a really good attack in these 2 stones here, or these 3 stones here, excuse me. So it's all profit for black. I think now I might leave this. You know, I think white has enough space here between moves like this where it's going to be really tough to kill white. And so what I would kind of be afraid of is playing moves that I'm just jumping and not actually making territory. Right? Because, you know, if black plays something like this, white's going to live. Okay, great. Now I have these moves here that don't help because white's alive here. And now white gets sent out to play elsewhere. So I would be kind of afraid of playing this move here right now because I'm not going to make territory with this move. It's just a cutting move, and I'm not sure if the cut is good yet. So I might be more inclined to play something like this and try to build up some influence over here. This is a relatively uninteresting part of the board because neither player is going to make much territory out of it. It's hard to say whether this peep is good right now because it obviously gives a little bit more strength to this cut. You know, I would be now I'm a little bit more afraid of this and having this black stone be cut off. If you don't have that, you know, black can always play here to prevent any sort of cut that's happening. So not quite sure whether you want to play Q10 now. You can always play it later. But I think right now I would rather probably just, you know, attack this stone, attack this group.
Okay.
And then here, perfect example, right? You immediately came back and protect, but if you didn't play this move, you wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely it's definitely not a great result for white. I think white needs to play here. Black would probably connect, and maybe white would do something like this, but still not going to be particularly fun. But that said, black didn't really gain much here either. So it's not a great result for white, but I think that it's better than what was happening before. If I were white in this position, I would not play here. I think that this is giving black too much outward influence. I think that also this is kind of a common trap that players will fall into. So this is really what white's aiming for. You Atari here at Q2, black Ataris. If black connects, then white gets this extra move here, black takes, and now you get this really nice attack on this black stone, right? This is exactly what white wants to happen. If you take here, then white gets to Atari, you play here, and again, white gets to put a lot of pressure on this stone here. So playing at Q2 is a big mistake. Much better just to play here. It's probably like, oh, I can capture the stone, I'm taking away the eye space. It's a very easy thought process, but I think that here, just extending would be much better. So this is actually exactly what happened in the game. And I would say that white has definitely, caught up some of the deficit from this bad fight over here. Yep, white's playing great right now. I would say this move at L3 is probably a little bit too aggressive. White does have some amount of weaknesses here, like a move here is going to be sente for black, excuse me. And so then you come back and play here, and now this white group has a weakness. Now you have a really strong black group and this lone white stone. So if I were white in this particular position, I would probably just Tanuki and take a big move elsewhere, something like this, right? Or protect my weak group over here. I'm not sure what white was really thinking at this point, because again, these black stones are not weak, which means if they're not weak and you play one stone, your stone's going to be weak. So kind of a questionable L3 move, I think. And this fight is really good for black, because eventually, white's going to run out into this area here, and which means black's going to get to cut off these stones. And it's hard for white to really find a nice time to get out, because it's going to have so many issues with these cuts here. So if white protects here, then black's going to attack these stones. And because we saw that black has this eye space over here, it's connected to these stones here, black really doesn't have anything to fear. So I think that this fight for white was maybe ill-advised, because again, you have a weak group here and a weak group here, and black doesn't have any weak groups.